Hey guys, so quick review of this. Minitab. All Minitab means is it is a computer program that you can plug the data into and generate this information, your mean, standard deviation, your um, 5 points needed for the box plot. So it's just a computer program that does the same thing we've been doing on our calculators. So with that being said, let's finish this out. Are there any outliers? I would say does not appear to be. And the reason I would say that is because there's no gaps. Typically, when you see an outlier, you're going to see a blank area where there isn't any data, and then you'll see one pop up out there. If you don't see that, there's a general bet that there's not an outlier. Now, how do we do it mathematically? That's where we do our IQR. So our IQR, remember, we're looking for 1.5 times our IQR, and we subtract that from Q1 and add it to Q3. So my IQR, Q1 minus Q3, and that gives me, 65 minus 50 is 15. So then I'm going to multiply that by 1.5, which would come out to, I think it's 22.5, but let me just double check. Yeah, 22.5. So that's going to equal 22.5. So we take Q1 minus 1.5 IQR. So I'm looking at 50 minus 22.5. Oh, looks like we might actually end up with one. And that will come up with 27.5. Okay, so we'll come back to that. And Q3 plus 1.5 IQR, which is going to be 65 plus 22.5, which would then give me, what's that, 87.5. Okay, so we're looking for anything below 27.5 and anything above 87.5. So our graph ends at 85, so we have no upper level outliers. But that explains why they gave us this information. We have 1, 2, 3 values that are below our minimum of what we would expect to see. So I would say that the scores of 20, what were they, 20, 26, and 27. Are outliers. Okay. And as far as the justification, doing the work, all the calculations, that is your justification. Drawing a box plot of that distribution, well, I've got a median of 59. Let's see, 59 is going to be, 65 is a little closer than 50 to 59. And then my max goes out to 84, which is like 20. Now, this is where those outliers are going to come into play. If those three are outliers, my whisker on the left-hand side is going to end at 31. So it's going to be about the same size, just about 20. And then I'm going to put 3 dots at 27, 26, and 20. So the 3 dots indicate outliers. Excuse me. One of the students had a self-concept score of 32. If this score had been accidentally recorded as 22, what would the effect have been on this value? Excuse me. So we're taking a number from 32 to 22. what effect would it have on the mean or the median? Well, it would lower the mean because the mean is the average, so the value matters. So when I add them all up, I'm looking at 10 extra points. Oh, sorry, it wouldn't lower the mean. It was accidentally recorded. It would raise the mean. I read that backwards. It was recorded as 22, but it was actually 32. So it would raise the mean because that value would actually matter. But as far as the median, that number is still below the median. So it's still on the lower half. And so it wouldn't affect what the two middle values are, or the middle value. The median would only change if it moved from the lower 50% to the upper 50% of the data. Okay. So yeah, we'd raise the mean, so because the value matters when you're doing an average. So I actually would probably add that. Value matters in an average. All right, let's do the next page. 5 students reported the amount of time in minutes that they spend studying for the AP Stats test the night before the test. The mean of the reported times is 45 minutes. Standard deviation is 10 minutes. So interpret the standard deviation in context. This is something we haven't put into formal terms yet, but it's fairly straightforward. You would just say something to the effect of, we would expect the data, or we're looking at actually in context, so the amount of time spent studying for the AP Stats test to vary. Sorry if you're hearing the scratching. I'm at my sister's house and her bunny's going nuts. To vary by about 10 minutes. Or sorry, by 10 minutes. So what this means, the key word here is vary. So we're saying it's not unusual to be 10 or 10 above or 10 below the average amount of time. A 6th student reports that they studied for 50 minutes. Would the addition of this student affect the data set? Yes, it would raise the mean, right? Because it's above our average. And the standard deviation would actually decrease. And that's because that number is closer to the mean than our standard deviation. So it's going to make our spread tighter. We're going to have more values closer to the mean. So you might say the standard deviation would decrease because 50 is closer to the mean than our standard deviation. So because it's only 5 units away from the mean and our standard deviation is 10. Okay, I think that is, yep, that's it on this page. For the quiz 2s, don't worry about those. I give them a shot today, but we're going to review them next week. So if you get stuck on something, just make a note and we'll review it next week. I'll talk to you later. Bye.